Meet me. All right. Welcome back, boys, to another PvP rant with Dr. Squirrel. If you only care about PvE, click off this video ASAP. I get it. You don't care. It's cool. No problem. But today we're going to be talking about PvP because I saw this in the patch notes and I thought I got to do a video about this because it perfectly exemplifies why the Epic 7 competitive PvP community is so frustrated with Smilegate right now because they just come off so tone deaf lately. So before we get into the negative, I want to be fair to Smilegate, and let's start off with a few quick positives because I think the problem is they have no idea what they're doing, but I think their intent is right. I think they are trying to fix it, and they have fixed some stuff, so we have to give them credit for that. So let's do that. So number one, at least they're testing it in the right place, right? Like at least they're doing it in the preseason, because who cares about preseason, right? They could screw around with whatever they want. So at least they're not testing it in the middle of the season. People might be like, they wouldn't do that. Of course they would do that. The last two seasons, they've released meta-defining units in the last week. The very last season, they released Hwayoung, a meta-defining unit, like literally less than 48 hours before the end of the season, and hosed a lot of people. So yeah, I would not put it past them, but at least they're doing it in preseason, right? I hope to God they're not going to do this crap in the regular season, because it's a nightmare. Second, one of the big complaints was power creep. I don't think their solution is correct, but you can at least say they're trying to address it with the ML freeze until July. So people are kind of getting some breathing room to collect mystics and stuff. Although, to be fair, 99.9% of players, including myself, don't have every ML5. So it probably won't save much anyway because you're going to be pulling for some of these heroes you're missing. But at least it's not new power creep stuff, right? So they have somewhat addressed that. And the biggest thing that they addressed cleanly, this is like a super win for Smilegate where there's no controversy whatsoever. In one of the, I have this open, in this one somewhere, they actually guaranteed us that they would never release units near the end of the season again, or if they did, they would somehow block them from being drafted. So that is a pure win from Smilegate, and something where they directly addressed something that players complained about and fixed it. So I think they definitely deserve a lot of credit for that one. That one was just a pure win. Thank you, Smilegate. Now let's get into the real topic of this discussion, which is this. So this makes no sense, right? So you look at this and it literally makes no sense, and I think it shows why the Epic 7 PvP community is frustrated. Because we've told Smilegate what we don't like, what we think the problems are, what we hate. And at this point, these kind of weird changes, it just makes it seem like their developers are, they just have a giant board of crappy ideas and they throw darts at it and it just lands on one. They're like, okay, let's implement this horrible idea and let's just keep going until somehow the game magically gets fixed. And it's not going to work. Even the original one, no one understood it. No, I couldn't think of any top player that looked at this and said, oh, yes, this is going to fix it. Sure, some cleavers might have liked it. This really primarily benefited cleave, in my opinion, or aggro comps. But basically, they gave everyone Sasha Ithanes, and everyone's just scratching their head and wondering, like, who wanted this? Who asked for this? Like, what? Why do we need this? And of course, they're getting rid of it immediately because everyone just hated it. I can't think of anyone who actually liked this change. Oh, maybe cleavers did, but the vast majority of people did not like this change. So they get rid of it. Fine. So what do they change it to? Soul Weavers get 20 extra speed. And I look at this and I just facepalm and I'm like, what? How does this fix anything? This doesn't fix anything. So I get their idea because they said that they want to increase the representation of Soul Weavers, right? So I guess this is they're going to give them 20 more speed. Really, the primary beneficiary of this will be Amelia. But Amelia was already being used. She wasn't really being underutilized. She was actually quite popular, especially paired with Hwayoung. Is this going to fix like DJ Bazaar? Are people going to start using Destina and restart reusing mate and stuff. No, those heroes stopped being used, and the problem wasn't really their speed, right? Speed wasn't the issue. If speed was an issue, they would have just geared them with more speed. So I don't really think this addresses that problem, but regardless, I don't think that was a common mistake anyway, because people weren't really complaining that Soul Weavers weren't good, right? I think we could all agree that Soul Weavers last season weren't very popular and were underutilized, but players were generally okay with that, because you know what season had a lot of Soul Weavers and no one liked? Season 1. By far the most garbage tier season in Epic 7 ever. So at the time, we looked at it with like rose-tinted glasses because it was the first RTA seasons and we all thought it was fun at the time. But anyone who complains about the past like 3 seasons probably didn't play season 1. That was the season where Soul Weavers were used, and it was horrendous. Every single match was like 2 knights, 2 Soul Weavers, or 3 knights, 1 Soul Weaver, or 2 knights, a Soul Weaver, and a Lencia. And literally every match was 30 minutes long and went to Battle Frenzy 6000, and it only ended when Falconer Clury could one-shot your entire team. That's how terrible those matches were. So you know what? Delete the Soul Weavers. No one cared about them anyway. So this isn't actually addressing a complaint of any competitive player. Like, sure, you want to make Soul Weavers better, fine, but that's not actually what anyone was complaining about, right? This wasn't anything someone was complaining about. So the problem is, both these changes not only suck, they don't make any sense. Like, what is the problem that they're trying to solve here? Or it's a made-up problem, because it's not a problem that the community is talking about, it's a problem that they're saying exists. Maybe they're saying the matches aren't fast enough. We want to punish you if you try to stall, but no one was playing stall comps anyway. Or there's not enough Soul Weavers. That's true, but no one was complaining about that. I will say, as much as I hate this change, I don't like this one either, at least it makes sense, right? Because there were some complaints that a lot of the newer heroes were essentially element neutral, right? They're saying, why do you keep giving new heroes like Rimuru, ignore element advantage? Or Hwayoung essentially is an ML because the way her attack works, it doesn't really matter if you miss, right? Because that's the main penalty of elemental disadvantage, the 50% miss. And Hwayoung doesn't care if she misses, and also it kind of gives her an elemental advantage against grass units, because grass units can't hit her easily, so she gets most of the benefit without without most of the downside. So that was kind of a complaint. It wasn't really a complaint of mine. I didn't really care that much, but I understood it. So at least this one makes sense, right? Because they were saying, okay, the players are saying elemental advantage doesn't matter anymore. Let's implement something to bring that back. So as much as I don't like the change, this one makes sense. It has logic behind it. There's a problem the community raised and an earnest effort to do something about it. So this is the kind of change where I actually agree with it. I don't like it. I don't think it's right, but I agree with it, because if that's a problem, do something like this and see how the community feels about it, if it actually helps balance issues. And heck, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is good for the game. But the point is, it makes sense. This makes very little sense. The only sense it could make is if they felt that cleave was underutilized. But I don't really think that was the case. Most top cleavers, they cleave, but they can also play standard or aggro. And cleave is very good in a lot of situations. So I don't really think cleave was that underpowered. Maybe a little underpowered, but still, I don't really think that was were top players really saying this, like, we need cleave to be more dominant. I don't think anyone ever says that, because in an age where cleave is dominant, the problem is gear diff gets worse and worse, because then it becomes like a speed race every game. So I don't think most players like that. And this one is just garbage. Just literally makes no sense. So it kind of comes down to just, like my dart metaphor. They're just trying completely random things. They're trying completely random things. And as someone who cares about RTA, it's frustrating, because it makes you wonder, what is the next thing going to be? Is it going to make any sense, or is this going to be in the left column in a week and the right column is going to say something like grass units get 10% more attack, and then we'll just be confused again, and then they'll say no one liked that change. Okay, heroes that start with an S get 5,000 more HP. It's just going to keep being crap like that, and it doesn't make any sense. Here are the two main problems. There's a bunch of problems, but the main problems that people cared about were broken heroes and power creep. And I know, Smilegate has officially basically said they are against nerfing, and I'm just going to keep making videos like this until we can somehow change their mind, because the two main complaints were broken heroes and power creep, and the problem with Smilegate's strategy is they cannot fix them both with their current methodology. Why? What is Smilegate's stance? Basically, they look at these numbers, right? And their solution is if a hero is broken as indicated by their pick rate, they will release heroes that will get that hero lower, probably by directly countering them. Like Apoc Ravi, all over the place, we're going to release more heroes like Hwayoung until it's too dangerous to pick her. The problem with this is that to counter a broken hero, you also have to make them broken. So the power creep continues. Let's look at examples of that. What was the start of all this? Angel of Light Angelica, where the community literally said before it even came out, this is nonsense, do not release it in this state. And Smilegate says, you don't know shit. We're going to release it anyway, you will see. And it was toxic as hell. So instead of nerfing AOL, because they don't like nerfs, nerfs are wrong, nerfs are bad, we're going to lynch them if they nerf, they said, we're going to fix it by releasing heroes that are fair and balanced that will make everything okay. And what did we get to counter it? We got Handman. We got Conqueror Lilius. Were those fair, balanced heroes to deal with AOL? Or were they even more nonsense heroes to deal with a nonsense hero? And then they said, you know what, Conqueror Lilius is way too strong. Maybe that wasn't a good way to deal with AOL, I know. Let's come up with another hero that's way better than her analogs to try and deal with Conqueror Lilius. And we got Pyrrha. You see kind of the history flow here? Every time they try to counter something broken, they have to introduce power creep, because you can't balance a broken hero with a crappy hero, right? Because when you have one-trick ponies, they don't end up being that good. Like, for example, LQC is very good against Apoc Ravi. Was LQC able to single-handedly keep Apoc Ravi down? No, because she wasn't good enough everywhere else. She was only really good at dealing with Apoc Ravi. So you have to make a hero that's very busted, like Hwayoung, to deal with something busted. So with the existence of a no-nerf policy, if their only way to balance heroes is to release other heroes or buff other heroes to deal with them, historically, that hero has become just as broken, if not more broken. So I don't know how to fix this, because Smilegate's saying they're going to give us more EEs or whatever. What's the EE going to do? It's going to have to make that hero super busted to counter stuff, and then we just have a different busted unit. Like, is the problem that busted units exist, or that 7 specific heroes are busted? Or is it just as bad if there's still 7 heroes busted, but they're just different heroes? Right? Like, the point is we don't want to have so many busted units. So yeah, basically, I just want them to nerf. I know it's a fight I'm losing, but, you know, if enough people complain about it, maybe one day. But I saw this and I was just like, is anyone there listening to anyone? Like, what are these ideas that they're coming up with? Because if one of their solutions was to balance through Battle Frenzy, so far it's a complete flop. Because the ideas don't make any sense. I'll give them credit for the RGB one. But even that one I don't like, but at least it made sense. You know what would have made a lot of sense? And I'm not I want to be clear, I'm not advocating for this and I don't want them to do this. But what would make sense is something like they would take the top 10 heroes on this list and basically say, expected. These 10 heroes that were picked the most will have a 10% reduction in their base stats, let's say, except for speed. I don't like that. I don't want them to do that, just to be clear. But at least it makes sense, right? Because then it seems like if people are saying they hate these broken heroes, at least the solution, however bad it is, directly addresses that complaint. Whereas these things don't address anyone's complaint, it's just random nonsense that doesn't make any sense. So anyways, I think we can kind of wrap this video up there because I'm the kind of person that could talk about this forever. I'm very passionate about this subject. I can't wait to see what nonsense they come out with next. I hope let's just be clear, I hope I'm wrong about that because I want this game to last. I want it to succeed. I want them to fix it and everyone to be happy. But if this is what we have to go by, the future doesn't look too bright, right? It doesn't make any sense. So anyways, thanks for watching. What are your own thoughts? Am I missing something? Is there a big brain out there that can explain this to me and how this is going to fix everything? Feel free to share it. I'm a squirrel. I'm small. My brain's small, and but I am eager to learn. Feel free to share it with me. So thanks for watching. Till next time, boys. Peace out.